right, not bad. I'm just what was that?
Well, remember how we made like different ideas for what our sound would be? It just kept playing. I thought I turned it off. I
Oh,
didn't.
nice. Great.
Yep. Sorry.
No, you're totally good. We are back with episode 39, and I am Shivani.
I am Miranda, and thank you for joining us.
At Far from Normal.
Yes, there you
Woo!
go. Good job.
We're off to a great start. I mean, I feel
So
like this
great.
intro basically just summed up like the entirety of like our
Chaos that is the far
yeah,
from normal.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're
Yeah.
definitely far from normal. um anyway, we were gonna talk about something fun.
Wow. Okay. Do you
Okay.
want me to introduce it? Because you
Yes, go
started it.
ahead.
Okay. Shivani had a interesting experience in one of her recent classes. Um, the class something states. That's all I remember.
Yeah,
You
no,
said
I
something
forget it
states.
every time. It's called States, Markets, and Societies. It's an honors class, so they have like cool names and stuff like that. And I always forget like which order and like what it actually is talking about. So yeah, that's the class. I will continue. So yeah, in this class, basically we're just um basically getting into like the details about like states, markets, and societies, and figuring out how they're connected and how they make up like international politics, domestic politics, and just how everything functions and why the world is the way it is.
Mm.
And so we were the first topic that we decided to discuss was realism, and we're getting into liberalism
Okay.
later next week. So yeah, in our discussion we were getting into realism, and our teacher asked us, or professor, I keep saying teacher because so used to high school, but it's professor now. Wow, fancy. Anyway, realism, our professor asked the entire class like whether they think they're an optimist or a pessimist. And so he called on a couple people, and they all responded with pessimist. And so I think by like the third person, the teacher was like, all right, is there anyone in this class that's an optimist? And me being me, I was like, hey, like I'm an optimist. And so I didn't think he'd actually like call on me, but he called on me to explain why I'm an optimist. And so I was like, I explained, I was just like, I believe like that. I believe in like the best of people. I think that people are inherently good, and I can't. I don't like to wallow in my sadness and like just be like depressed all day, because usually when I do that, I don't end up getting anything done. So I usually need to be in like sort of like a positive space to be able to get anything done, and I just like function better that way,
Okay.
which it works for me. And like it just doesn't make sense. I don't know, I feel like in general I'm just a very like solutions based person, and like I'm always looking for like new opportunities, and like I refuse to believe that like it's just the end of the world. Like I always think there's like something I can do to improve the situation. And so yeah, that's just me. But honestly, like after I explained this, I was like looking at like the people in the class, because like it's a Zoom class, and I just felt so judged. I felt so judged for being an optimist. Like I felt like I was in the wrong. I was in the wrong to think that like everything's gonna be okay, because there's so many bad things that have been going on in the world, and like the pandemic, and also just like Black Lives Matter, and like just the sexual harassment stuff that's going around now, and like Asian hate. And it's like it just like hit me then and there. Is like, am I naive to think to be an optimist? Like, am I in the wrong to think that I could think to think that things are going to get better based on like how many like bad things have gone down? And I just felt so like small and so like tiny and so like wrong. I just felt like everyone was like, no, like you can't be happy. And maybe this was all in my head, but like no one else raised their hand when the professor asked if they were an optimist. And
Right.
so I was like, this is really weird. And like, I don't know, I feel like maybe just this based off like what I've seen. Like people tend to like I don't know. Have you observed this where like if someone does well, like some people or like people close to them start to like I don't know, hate on them, not really hate on them,
Yeah.
but they judge them, and they're just like, oh, you don't deserve that, like you don't deserve to be happy. It's just like sort of like a double standard, like where if you're not happy, they're like, go fix yourself, but when you are happy, they're like, they also are
Right.
not,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically what happened. And
I think it's the competitive nature in our society and like jealousy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. We can continue. Sorry.
No, that, yeah, I definitely think that. I think it's like kind of goes back to like projecting and stuff like that. It's just because like you have something that they don't, so they're just like they do the only thing that they can do, and they hate on you, and they just project all their insecurities and stuff onto you. And it's so sad, and it's like so like toxic in a way, just because like you can't please everyone, in which like you know we know that you can't please everyone, but it like it hurts when like you when someone gives you like a hate comment, like you know like you could have like a million like positive comments, but then someone
Mhm.
says something wrong and that like ruins your entire day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, it's just I don't know, have you experienced that where like you, well, would you, I think we talked about this before, but would you, do you think like you're a optimist or a
Gosh,
pessimist?
I don't even know how the definitions of the labels kind of confuse me,
Yeah.
which I know they shouldn't because it's labels that I've heard forever.
Hmm.
Um, pessimist makes sense to me because that's how I used to define myself.
Yeah.
Um, like, well, assuming things will turn out in the worst way. Um,
Mm,
and like never saw like the worst in people, but I thought that it was easier for me to assume that things would not end up in my favor because then I wouldn't be disappointed.
mhm.
Um, and we talked about this I think on an episode.
Yeah, we did.
Um,
Yeah.
and then realist, I guess, thinks that they know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know. Like the definitions don't make sense. I don't know. Like if you're being optimistic about the now and you're assuming people are like have the best intentions, then I'm an optimist. If it's about the future, I don't really know cuz I don't know what is realistic and what is optimistic and what is pessimistic. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
cuz like a lot of people that
Mm.
I've talked to call themselves realists and they're very negative. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if it helps any, I have a definition that our class gave us for like realism. I don't think
Go
I
for it.
actually said what it was. But yeah, basically our professor was like realism and like liberalism is basically like a paradigm for which you look at the world, or like a simplified map for looking at the world. So it's basically a perspective and like how you view things in the world. And based off a realist author by the name, his last name is Hobbes. I don't remember his first name.
Oh yeah.
He, you know,
Emmanuel
yeah,
Hobbes?
maybe, I don't know. I just
No,
know it's
wait, it's
Hobbes.
Immanuel Kant. Yeah,
Kant,
I know
that was who
Immanuel
it's
Hobbes.
Kant. But
Hobbes
Kant is
is
the,
the one who says man eat man or wolf eat man or men are wolves
yeah.
or yeah.
Yeah. So like Hobbes is basically the guy who thinks that like the nature of man is like violent and
Evil. Yeah.
narcissistic, and like, yeah, and they're meant to be like enemies, and like we're very competitive and like, you know, that
Mhm.
sort of thing. So I think in general realism tends to be a little more negative and pessimistic, and that like people are not in it to help each other. It's mostly to see who can be on top and to be
That's
see who can have the
realism?
most.
What the
Yeah,
hell?
that, well, that's like broken down in terms of how Hobbes saw it, in how Hobbes saw it from his perspective in 1651. So like I think this is like when I'm gonna get the
Old
history
school.
wrong, but
Okay.
yeah. So like something happened within politics during that century that made him believe that people
Humans suck.
were, yeah, yeah, basically. And so a lot of people, yeah, kind of agree with that, like that we're in it for like survival, and that the only way we can our secure our like position, not position, but like make sure that we survive, is to gain all the power that you can. So it's a very fear-based perspective, I think. So it's also, it's like about making sure that you have everything to secure yourself, so enhancing security. And you can like connect this to like today's, like with like, you know, nuclear weapons and like, you know, from
Right.
World War II and stuff like that. So they want to make sure that they have everything they can, they need to protect themselves
Yeah.
if a war happened later on. And then there's also like just like risky behavior just in general, just to make sure that they maintain that security, and it's just basically um realizing that you can't trust anyone, and that you always have to be like on your guard, on was that the same word, I don't know. Yeah, you always
Yeah.
have to make sure that you you have to be careful with who you
Yeah.
trust, because you never know what their intentions are. And so I think that's what a realist perspective is. It's just like realizing that you can't trust anyone, and that the world is an ugly place. And
What is pessimist then?
I think I think that's what they mean by realism. At least that's how we defined it in class, because that's how our professor, like, I think that's why he asked us. As in, like, pessimism was related to realism, and optimism was
But there's a
related to
realist. Isn't there a realist, a pessimist, and an optimist?
probably. That's how we defined it in class. Maybe he was just using that as like a crutch. I don't know, just to like segue the discussion. But I think that's definitely that. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, in my head, it makes sense just because if you believe that, like, if you're a realist and you believe that, like, the world is just an ugly place, then
I'm gonna run into the assumption that that's pessimist. But yeah, we can continue.
yeah. No, I think that was like one of my questions though. It's just like, if you're a realist, can you be an optimist? Because like I definitely consider myself an optimist, but like, with the way society is and the way that things run in the world, I still have to like be on my guard when I'm like, like alone in the middle of the
Yeah.
night. Like as a woman, I have to be careful that there aren't like some random men out there trying to like, kidnap me or
Yeah.
something. So like I still think I'm an optimist though, but I'm definitely guarded.
I think
Like
it's like
I
a
won't
lot
trust
of other
people.
labels.
Mhm.
Labels are used to understand people because that is part of our psychology. We want to put labels on people so we understand them.
Yeah,
But no one fits a label completely.
that's
So I
true.
think you can be optimistic but still have realistic tendencies or
Yeah.
pessimistic tendencies.
Mhm.
Remember when I used to say, like a year ago, that I was consciously pessimistic and subconsciously optimistic?
I don't remember this, but you can
I used
explain.
to say that all the time because, like, I would be like, I would try to convince myself that like the worst that could happen would happen, and then in the back of my mind, I'm hoping that the best that could happen would happen. And I used to always just be like, guys, I'm being subconsciously optimistic, obviously. Like I used to say that all the time. I don't know.
Hmm. Do
Yeah.
you like do you think that was kind of do you think that was influenced by the people around you? Because I think like we were talking a little bit about this, but like bias and like conformity. Like, do you think that like the people around you influence you to be like pessimistic? Because like I feel like nowadays it's like more accepted to be pessimistic, and almost like
Yeah.
you fit the trend and it's funnier to be pessimistic. Whereas like if you're like the one being like, no guys, it's okay, then you're like people are like they're like, no, we don't want to hear it. Like we want to just wallow in our sadness and our negativity because it's fun. And I know it can be fun because I've done that before, but like it's come to a point where it almost becomes like toxic in a way, I think, because then
Yeah.
we just don't allow ourselves to be happy. But anyway, sorry, you can answer the question. Go ahead.
Asking the question keeps talking.
I know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, we did actually talk about this on a previous episode about how like it was about our negativity episode, negativity and positivity. Remember?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think I kind of reevaluated that this semester because I realized you don't have to let, like, when you're in a positive mood, you don't have to let the negative mood get to you. And it's a choice if you choose to talk about the negativity, sometimes it does help. Um
Yeah.
and so you just got to make the best choice for yourself. And I mean, obviously, sometimes it's good to try to bring a little positivity into it for others, and I think it can be appreciated, as long as it's not overboard. Because sometimes people are just like, I just want to complain. Why wouldn't you? You know, um,
Yeah.
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 I think a little bit of positivity, like I don't know if it's not a big deal. It can be easier to be positive. But obviously you got to be conscientious of people's feelings. I think that first and foremost is one of the things pretty much applicable to everything, is always being conscientious of other people's feelings first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that just like kind of like relates to like all the labels that we have too, because like there's always like a line between like, you know, positivity and then like toxic positivity, or like, yeah, and just like context really matters too, because like, yeah, for sure, I definitely agree that like negativity, it should be talked about, and there's a time and place where we need to just like submerge ourselves into like negativity to really understand it and to figure out like how we can move out of it, because if you don't, if you like avoid it, you're also not
Right.
going to be able to get anything
And
done.
sometimes just ranting, just to rant and being negative for a little bit, sometimes it's just like gets it off your chest, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. Yeah. I don't know. I guess like my thing was just like I feel like it's almost, I don't know, from what I've observed, it's just like we've taken negativity a little bit to the extreme. But I could be wrong. I don't know, because I feel like at least like when I like look at the news or something, there's something wrong. Something always going wrong. Like there isn't, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just like the media that like needs attention, so they put something on the headline to grab our attention that happens to be
Yeah.
like, oh, well, these like 5 people died due to this mass murderer killer. I don't know. And then, but like, I don't know, they tend to like redirect our focus towards negative things, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of like influences the majority of the population to be a little more negative.
Do you think the media is influencing us, or do you think we're influencing the media?
I think I think the media has a lot of power.
Yes, but like I feel like the media gets their power from us. Like they're not just,
Yeah, but like if they get their power from us, can't they like pick and choose what they want to show us?
yes, to an extent, but like they have to show us things that they know we're gonna want to see.
They can manipulate that too.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, I could see it like happening both ways. Like obviously like their content comes from us, but I think the way that they like promote it or the way they market it and the way they shove it in our faces and the way that they cover it, that can definitely influence how we interact and engage with the
Yeah.
content.
That's
And
partially
like,
us too, though, because like the fact that like people can't concentrate for like more than 10 seconds, so they like have to do all these pop-up ads to get people's attention.
yeah, I mean, I think it depends on like the content too. Like, what is the content?
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I don't know. Yeah, I just think, yeah, I
I'm
still
just
think
being
the,
devil I'm just being devil's advocate. I did a speech on this in like high school, and I didn't really form a set opinion. I just wanted to push yours a little bit.
mm,
Yeah. So go ahead.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think the media does have a lot of power though, because like I think people place a lot of importance on the media and like
Mhm.
what they see, and that influences their day-to-day activities. And then I think because they like, I think they purposely like try to like start like a really heated discussion. And like, you know, when you go to like some YouTube video over like some sort of politics and stuff like that, they highlight certain clips from the interview that might seem like out of place or like
Yeah.
maybe put someone's words out of context, and then it starts
Yeah.
like this huge heated discussion, but they do that so they can keep your attention. So
Right.
then they like, but then by doing that they create a lot more arguments and a lot more heated discussions, not even discussions, just like hate and like bullying and like like, you know, discrimination and stuff like that. And yeah, like what would happen if we posted, you know, I don't know, more about like, you know, positive content, which sounds like kind of naive right now, but like I don't know, I feel like if they promoted their content in a different way, and we had like, I think it would maybe lead to like more civil discussions.
Yeah. I mean, there are sources that have more positive stuff. I think just they aren't a sources a lot of people use. Um
Yeah.
and like the guy from The Office, I couldn't tell you his name. I'm sorry to any Office fans here. He plays Jim. Um but he did a show over quarantine that was called like Some Good News, which was all just like positive news too. So like I think people are aware of the negative news, but I think people don't spend that much time reading news sources, so they want to get like the big stuff. I don't know though, because I don't even read any news sources. I just see things on like Instagram stories or my friends. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just depends on like the audience that you're talking to too, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's like a lot of bias and stuff like that too. So like I mean, I don't think we should completely take out the negativity. I think it's just the way we frame it that's important. Like
yeah,
if we were I mean, and that's hard to do because like CNN is so different from like Fox News, like the way that they highlight different events and stuff. You can like see the differences and like how they like kind of depict that to their audience or like show them that or like yeah, it's different and I feel like that's what creates the problems because like you
okay,
can't have like neutral
right,
news. At least we don't have that doesn't really exist right now because like usually people add in their own opinions and like
right.
marketing and stuff like that. So
Everything's an argument.
yeah, it is. It makes you think back to like that. I don't know who said it, but it's like even like a stone is like making its own like argument
I'm
or something
pretty
like
sure
that.
I was referring to Krogmeyer's class from high
Oh,
school.
Krogmeyer. Oh, Krogmeyer. I remember that. Yeah.
Our English
Uh,
teacher in high school, for anyone who
yes.
is listening to this and doesn't know who I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of media sources have a lot of bias, and I think it does that thing. I don't know the word of it. It like it's not straw man. But it does like alienates and demonizes the other point of view. So
Yeah.
like if you're a conservative, no matter what, if you know that it's a liberal saying the other argument, even if you would align with some of those beliefs, you're going to deny the argument, not because of the argument, but because of the person saying it.
Right.
That's yeah, that's some sort of rhetoric device. I don't remember, straw man maybe. Anyway, and the same goes the other way around. Like we don't have civil discussions, including on our media sources, because we are too quick to demonize the other point of view and not listen to what they're saying. Sorry, soapbox. I feel like I altered the discussion a little bit, but I just wanted to make that point.
No, yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, and it's just kind of sad because like that person that people like demonize or alienize because they're on the other side or like they're conservative and you're a liberal and they don't like they might have something good to say and they might have like an actual point but they completely like shut them out just because
Yeah.
they're labeled something else.
Yep.
And yeah, that's like yeah, it's it's an issue because like we might not be getting like half the story when and
Right.
then
Well, like
yeah,
also we reach better compromises if we actually listen.
I
Like
know, I
you're never
know.
gonna get anything done if you're just yelling your opinion, the other person's yelling their opinion, because you're never gonna pass laws if you don't get some people from the other side.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it just reminds me of like a conversation I had with like my mom because like she's pretty liberal. She's very
Mhm.
liberal, but like I think she's a little gullible sometimes.
Yeah.
And she like kind of believes everything that she sees. And I'm like usually when she starts talking to me about it, I'm like, where did you see this? Like what source did you look at? And I'm like very skeptical about like what she says because like I know I've seen a lot of sources like blow things out of proportion
Yeah.
and like it's so easy to like just fall down those rabbit holes and just like keep reading like inaccurate information and just like only focusing on like the like 2 seconds of like an hour long interview or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it just makes me sad because like these people like they fight so passionately for like the wrong things because I'm like wait like you only saw like this much of like the whole and like if you had
Yeah.
actually understood what they were trying to say in this interview maybe you'd have a different opinion and maybe you wouldn't be getting into these like huge arguments with people that are
Right.
not worth your time. So
Or like Twitter puts like purposely puts like titles that are kind of unrelated to the articles to piss people off.
clickbaiting, oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, clickbaiting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad time, very sad time,
Yes.
but
This
I
is
don't
why
know.
I stand public media sources like
Yeah, for sure.
NPR or PBS or I mean, granted there are some issues with those too because
Hmm.
you run the risk of like too much government control, but
Hmm.
they can at least they can say things without having to worry as much about getting like clickbait and stuff,
Yeah.
and making profit. So they actually say real news.
Yeah.
I don't want to imply that there's fake news, but there is very biased news.
Yeah.
There's fake news actually on some sites, but
Yeah, for sure. Um, hmm. Okay, this is like a really random question, but like, do you have any friends that
no, I have no
you,
friends.
you only got like 2 seconds of like the entire whole. Anyway, from like, okay. Anyway, I was referencing something. Do you have any friends like where you just don't talk about politics? Like, do you have like any like genuine friendships where like you can just like be friends and like vibe with each other without like mentioning anything that's happening in like, yeah, the media and stuff?
Um, yeah, I have a few friends that I don't usually talk about politics with. Um, most of those friends like I could talk to about politics, but I have no interest. Like we have other things to talk about. Um, I have talked about religion with with some of those friends, and that can sway into politics. Um, but I do have a few friends I don't talk to about politics very much. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Also, some
Okay.
friends that I choose not to talk to about politics.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it was just like I don't know, I was talking to another family member and they were just talking about like how many friendships have been ruined over just like having very different political viewpoints. And it's just like kind of sad because it's just like why should their political like
right.
positions and like perspectives influence how like you can be friends? I
Yeah,
think it creates like a lot of divide in that sense.
I agree. I think people should be able to have civil conversations and not because that comes back to like the labeling, like demonizing someone, like because they believe a certain thing, assuming
Mm-hmm.
that they're a bad person. Like we should be able to have civil conversations where we talk about our beliefs and listen to the other person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless it's like something like insane, like like I'm gay and someone doesn't think gay marriage should be allowed, I'd probably not be their friend. But like, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like it's a lot harder to make friends these days without like touching on politics, even just like a little. Like
yeah,
I feel like it's almost like you can't you you can't get by without having some knowledge of like what's going on.
yeah,
And I think I've like realized that a lot more, especially since like getting into college. Like you kind of have to know what's going on in the world to like even like participate in like just like class discussions and stuff like that.
yeah,
Like at the beginning, like and this is kind of stupid to say now, but like I didn't really read that much news or like didn't really know what was going on. But like as soon as I like started like attending like classes at like where at college, it was just like realizing that I was so out of the loop with everything and just like not having an opinion on anything. So it was just hard to like participate in any discussions or like yeah, just contribute in any way.
yeah. Not
And
gonna
it's
lie
like
though, sometimes it's kind of nice to not have an opinion and just hear other people's opinion. I don't know,
that's true. Yeah.
but
Yeah, I
people
mean, I
judge
was like
you.
that a lot.
People do judge you, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
You
I
don't think
mean,
there's anything wrong with judging people?
no, I don't think there's. I mean, depending on what it is, I don't think there's anything wrong with not having an opinion.
Huh. See, like I used to not have an opinion for a long time, but like I always felt judged for not having an opinion.
I people definitely judge you, but I don't think unless it's like certain things, I don't. I think it's okay to not have opinion for a while and to explore things, and I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I just felt really uncomfortable not having an opinion, so I literally just like sat down and educated myself on everything, and I still don't know everything. So
Right.
which like I feel like I'll never be satisfied with like the amount of knowledge I have, because I feel like
Well,
I'll just
yeah.
always be missing stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing, because like if you realize that you don't know everything, then the less arguments that you get into, because you're like, maybe I'm missing something here. But at least that's how I think about it. But yeah.
I get swayed so easily because I don't know everything. So like when I hear additional facts, I'm like, oh, whoop,
Yeah.
switching sides.
Honestly, me too. Me too. Like just even just like within the past year, I'll hear like two sides to the argument, and I'll be like, I am back to square one. I do not know what I believe. Like, am I still
Exactly.
a liberal? Am I a conservative? I don't know. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so weird. Um, we're out of time, but we
Oh,
kind of
really?
stuck to, yeah.
I didn't realize it. Okay.
We kind of stuck to the same topic. I think we
Yeah.
definitely have covered this in our past episodes, but I think this was just like a accumulation of like everything that we talked about.
And it
And
was like later too, so it's new opinions.
do you think your opinions have changed that much since the last time we talked about it?
I think I definitely, with the optimism pessimism one, I think I am less, I don't know, I align with it less.
Mm. Oh, you mean like just the labels, or like?
Like
Okay,
I don't know what label I am.
got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Honestly, I just don't. I don't really care about labels anymore. I'm like you can just call me whatever you want. Like I don't care. But yeah, it's a lot to think about, and it kind of stresses me out, honestly, because there are so many labels, and I feel bad when I don't know the labels, because I feel like there's like new labels that I just learn about every single day, and I'm like, oh, that's what this is about. And I feel bad for not knowing them, because people get mad about not knowing what the labels are. And so like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
just a
think
never ending.
personally, I think as long as you try,
Mm-hmm.
that's what matters. But I definitely have known people that gotten upset when
Yeah.
people don't know right away, which is hard. It's part of the like, political polarization, I feel like,
Yeah.
of the like when people don't, I don't know, use the correct label the first time, like the other person assumes that they don't care or those kind of things.
Yeah.
Um and don't give them a chance, and that's hard. But other people are more understanding of it. But anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
I
That's true.
my train of thought.
No, you're totally good. I do that all the time. Yeah, no, it's definitely like, I think, very subjective too, because it like depends on like who you're talking to, and some
Yeah.
people are put a lot more importance on that than others. So it's all
Yep.
cool. Yeah. Anyway, we're at the end of our episode.
Yeah.
So do you have any closing thoughts, or is that it?
Ah, nope. Got nothing.
Cool. We good. So I guess I'll just wrap this up with our normal thing. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can shoot us an email at farfromnormalpodcast2020@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram at farfromnormalpodcast, and a Google survey in our Instagram, where you can also just leave us whatever you want in there: comments, suggestions, feedbacks, what you liked, what you disliked, all that fun stuff. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yes. Like and subscribe to our YouTube. We love you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
love
you.
you. Bye.